We are a people who have ambition and aspiration and dreams and optimism and hope. If you look at the character of who we are and how we have achieved the strength that we have achieved, I believe in large part it is because of our character and our belief in the promise of America.
Well, isn't that just beautiful? Here we are on Megyn Kelly today. As you can see, that's failed presidential candidate Kamala Harris. And there's a bit of a to-do right now because 60 Minutes, or CBS I should say, has released the full raw footage from the interview that 60 Minutes did with Kamala Harris. And apparently some of the initial answers she gave to questions were either just total word salad or maybe didn't quite get across what she wanted to get across. And so 60 Minutes allowed her to, re-answer the questions, and that they used those better answers. That's what they used in the actual interview that was aired. So we've got Megyn Kelly here. She's also got Andrew Klavan from the Daily Wire as a guest. And let's see what they have to say about this.
So it turns out now we know the full sit-down with Kamala was just over 50 minutes. And what they ultimately aired was a cut-down version that was about 20 minutes in length. Now, that is typical for 60 Minutes. They don't normally air their full interviews, and they don't typically release the raw videos anywhere. But having said that, they've done it before. They released the full transcript, I think, or video of J.D. Vance. Catherine Herridge was pointing that out. They've done it before. So once it became a controversy, why wouldn't they have done it, right? The preview clip hit Face the Nation. It didn't match the version we saw the next night on 60. And watch, you can see that discrepancy in this clip here.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Yeah, that first answer was definitely word salad. It made no sense at all.
Not much better, but slightly more clear. With the release of the full video, now we know how that whole thing actually took place. First, the question from Bill Whitaker was actually edited down, and the part taken out was more pointed than the way it aired in either version. And you can see the full Kamala answer, too.
It seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening. The Wall Street Journal said that that your administration has repeatedly been blindsided by Netanyahu. And in fact, he has rebuffed just about all of your administration's entreaties.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region. And we're not going to stop doing that. We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Okay, so what we learned is that the first half of that inane answer was aired on Face the Nation as a tease, and on actual 60 Minutes, which aired the next night, they used the second half of the answer, which was more succinct, though I don't know that it was more clear. I'm going to have to say 60 might have just been shooting for something that was a little closer to comprehensible, if you want to give them the benefit of the doubt. Neither answer was good. They both sucked. But now we do know that there wasn't more inanity stuck inside the answer. There were just those two bits of inanity, and they chose one for Face the Nation and one for 60. Okay, but there's more. Because now we've seen the raw footage of the interview, and we learned that the next 10 minutes of Q&A was edited out entirely. Again, this is always going to happen. It's not inappropriate to edit an interview with a presidential candidate. That is the format of 60. And most of us, if have limited time and limited airspace to put our interviews up in this kind of thing, and like a pre-taped setting with somebody who's important. Not now because I'm on podcast, but back when I was on, the cable news or the broadcast news. But look here at what we never got to see.
We are people who have ambition and aspirations and dreams and optimism and hope. If you look at the character of who we are and how we have achieved the strength that we have achieved, I believe in large part it is because of our character and our belief in the promise of America. And I'm running for president because I want to do everything that is possible to create an opportunity for people to achieve those goals, those ambitions, and those dreams.
Okay, so she said absolutely nothing. You guys all know how many times we heard those stupid phrases, meaningless, out of her mouth. You can make the argument that, okay, they didn't need to include it because everybody's heard her say it. But you tell me whether it's putting the thumb on the scale editorially to take that out. In essence, you could make the case that you're running cover for her because she is showing what an empty vessel she is, that this is all she's got. This is a major, supposed to be substantive sit down. And that's what she fills it with. This completely empty, calorie-less filler that she says everywhere. Like, you'd have to have the debate internally about whether you're running cover for her and taking that out. Later in the interview, Kamala went on a bizarre aside about picture day in school in Ohio on the subject of the eating of the dogs and the cats in Springfield, Ohio, which they also saved her from.
When I was Attorney General, the words I spoke could move markets. So the idea that the former president, who again is running to be president, would use that microphone in a way that is about vilifying and demeaning a whole population of people. You know what has happened because of that? One day when this happened was a school day, picture day for an elementary school. Picture day. You know what picture day is for our children? They get excited the night before. We put out the clothes they're going to wear. They go to school making sure their faces are clean and their hair is done. And they go to school for picture day. And you know what happened to these children? They had to evacuate that day because of the fear of the threats that were being issued in Springfield because of the words of Donald Trump. So I say that I'm glad you are pointing these comments out that he has made that have resulted in a response by most reasonable people to say it's just wrong. It's just wrong.
Unbelievable. That's where she went. Words have such power. What could happen to the children? Well, let's look at what did happen. Picture day got spoiled. It got spoiled, I'm telling you, Bill. And by the way, then she references the bomb threats, which we know and knew were international. Some came from Russia. It had nothing to do with America. It was just shit stirring from out of the country. But somehow that's Trump's fault. All of which would have led to criticism of Kamala Harris, and it got omitted from the interview. All they included was that last sentence. I'm glad you're pointing these comments out that he's made. They've it's led to a response from people saying it's wrong. It's just wrong.
Yeah, always fun listening to Kamala Harris speak. She basically says nothing. And I mean, that's like in the best cases, she says nothing. In the worst cases, it's just total, gibberish, gobbledygook. But it is interesting that CBS have released the raw footage from that interview. And, so everybody's talking about it. Everyone's going through it with a fine-tooth comb to see what she really said. In any case, we all know what she talks like. The voters decided they didn't like what she had to say. They didn't like what she stood for. They didn't like what her party stood for. And the Democratic Party to this day, so it's been a few months since the election, are in a complete shambles. They have no idea what they're doing. They can't seem to get themselves together, pull themselves together, and come up with some actual policy proposals or a platform that somebody that the majority of Americans would actually vote for. And I hope they keep going that way. They are imploding. Something's got to change if they want to have a chance in the future. Let's hope they don't change, though. Let's hope they keep going the way they're going. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments. And like and subscribe, of course. And I'll see you in the next video.